Um, hey, I'm not sure if I can see. I can't see anyone, so if you can hear me, just know that I will be with you in a moment. Just trying to get some little things done behind the scenes, technically, and I'll be right with you. But also, thank you for joining us tonight. Hey, Treaders. If you're joining me tonight, welcome to Power to Tread podcast. I am the host, Tara Niche, and I am excited that you are in the room with us tonight. I will be having a conversation. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, sister. And hello to everyone that's in the chat. I cannot see um, everyone right now, but I'm excited that you're in the room because we do have, as you can see, a very dark, necessary topic that is going to be talked about tonight. And I'll be sharing some of my story, and I do have a guest tonight, Bianca, who will be helping with this conversation, my co host, and she will be also sharing some of her story with us tonight. But I am still waiting to give people time. I know I got on late, but late is literally on time when God is the one that controls time. So we're still fine. And I will be with you in a moment. I'm still working behind the scene. If you're in the chat, let me know if you can actually hear me or hear the music that's playing behind me. Okay. No one said anything, so that means that no, you can't hear me. Let me see. Hold on one second. So I'm going to get started in a moment. Uh, Bianca, if you're in the chat, can you let me know because I can't see you either? Okay. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I will be getting with you in a moment. Still waiting. Okay. So I do see a thumbs up. Uh, hey, sister. Can you let me know if you can actually hear the music that's playing, or if you can hear me clearly? I think that I'm almost. I might have to go out and come back in. I'm not sure. Okay. Hey, Ty. All right. Good. So I'm just going to get started. I don't know if Bianca is in the chat, but everyone, again, hey Treaders, how are you? Welcome to Powder Tread Podcast. I am your host, Tara Nashay. And believe it or not, I've been doing a podcast since 2020. And even before 2020, I wrote a production, Incest in the Kingdom. And anyone that saw that production knows that I actually was really in hiding at that time. My story was engraved in that production. I wrote it based off of a true story, my own story, but I wasn't healed. I wasn't whole, and I was not ready. And God knew that I wasn't ready, so He did not allow me to crash out. Um, and at that time, I remember specifically having a church that I was affiliated with. um I wasn't affiliated with them at the time. The church that I was a part of, I remember it was like over 3,500 people in the room for the production, and the church that I was a member of, as a child, they were in the room as well. So I was terrified. I'm like, oh my God, somebody's going to know that I'm talking about, myself or the leader, and so on and so forth. And so I went into a dark place after that production, and I was able to, like go into some other areas. My sister Stephanie wrote The Pastor's Chambers, the book, and I wrote the actual play for her book, and we collabed on that project, and it was amazing. Over 3,000 people in the room again. And even with me hearing parts of her story and how pastors were engaging in inappropriate activity with sheep, I still was not ready to tell my story. So here I am, fast forward to 2026. In 2025, God instructed me to tell my story. I was writing First Lady monologues, and I started to write all these monologues for different women from different walks of life. And I had women actually, sign up to be a part of the production, which was scheduled to come out for Mother's Day this year. God saw, while I was writing Church Doors, I got to my own story, Church Doors, and God said, "Stop the production that you're working on and write Church Doors." And so I started to dig deeper into my story, and I could not believe what God unlocked for me. The things that He unlocked, most of it I did not even remember. A lot of it I was in shock that I was calling this pastor. Um, you know, I had so much reverence for him that I was calling what happened to me as a child. Um, I thought it was just something that we were doing. I thought that it was consensual. I thought that because by that time, from age 11 and a half, 12, being groomed, molested, and raped, by that point, um, I was like 23 when it ended. So in my mind, I did not realize that this is no, you never consented. Call it what it is. He was never a servant of mine. He was assigned to interrupt your destiny. And so once God started speaking to me clearly about who this leader was and how he got in my home and how he got in my life, I could not believe it. So for me, and this is where, this is podcasting. Hey, Zanisha, and hey, Megan, and whoever else is in the chat. And I know that people are going to come in and out of the chat all night. I'm really not concerned with that. If I can reach one soul on their journey to wholeness, that is my aim. I'm not concerned about anything messy. I'm not in the messy business. I'm not in the business of, a smear campaign and giving out names and addresses. I don't really care. People who know me personally know exactly what church I grew up in. I'm not going into those details for people to go dig up historical facts. I'm not into that. I'm into truth. I'm into healing. I'm into deliverance. I'm done with watching people suffer silently. I suffered for 42 years. And as a 53, almost 54-year-old woman, I think it's time to tell my story. And I think that in 2023, when I had my stroke, the stroke unlocked so many things for me that were, dormant. I did not realize that the stroke was making me, my uh, health was making me sick. But God used the stroke to unlock doors that Satan was living in without me knowing. And so God allowed this thing to just help heal me and just help me walk out of that prison door that I was in. And so for now, I understand my assignment even more. Like church doors was incest in the kingdom, but incest in the kingdom wasn't ready. God was not ready to unveil me. He needed me to heal properly before I could speak freely for his kingdom. And so here we are. And that was just a little backdrop. Um, uh, at the age of 6, I encountered my uh, rapist or my, the person assigned to interrupt destiny. Um, they were in my home, and my parents gave them access. His family was in our home, and as a child, before I even started first grade, I remember the day that I started first grade. He actually was the one that did my hair for that that day, that big day. So imagine them being in our home, not my father, not my mother, but this person is in the home as, I guess, maybe an uncle, or because if it's my mother and father's best friend, one of their friends, then they're someone who's close enough to me to be able to do my hair, be that close to touch me in a way that's very intimate, but also very subtle. And so keep in mind that my parents and I, we lived in a home. I was the third child of 8 children. And so there was a lot of children. And so as friends, of course, they're helping us get ready for school. And so, of course, his help was warranted, but my parents didn't understand the detriment of that connection. And so after my stroke, and even later last year, God reminded me of that intimate time that we had together. And I remember as an adult reminding this leader, hey, do you remember when you did my hair when I was 6 for school? And he said, you remember that? And I know for a fact, because now I know God enough to know that the Holy Ghost will lead and guide you or remind you of things or highlight areas in your life or time frames so that you can understand what actually transpired and the whys behind it. And so the enemy had an opportune moment to get close enough to make me comfortable enough so that by the time he showed up again, the grooming process, that grooming process started at the age of 6. And yes, Zanisha, so it started at the age of 6, and it continued on all the way until I was about 11 and a half, going into, I remember I had just gotten into high school. The first day of high school, I call myself being, because by this point I was uh, 12, but I had just told my mother that I was being abused by my oldest brother. And so this abuse went on from the age of 3 until I was about 11 and a half. So at 11 and a half, by this time, I had already encountered abuse on that level in my home with the sibling, continual abuse, and that abuse went from molestation and grooming to all out, assaults every single day. And so until I was 11 and a half, I told my mom, and that person was no longer in the home. But after that, uh, my aunt's boyfriend, and so I'm giving you a little backdrop of my story. My aunt's boyfriend, I went to her home, and I'm 11 and a half, and I literally remember her leaving to go to work, and she was supposed to take me to school, but she told my mom, I'm gonna just bring her home when I get off work. So he calls me into the room, their bedroom, around 11 o'clock. I remember that like it was yesterday, because the Price is Right was on, and at that time, those of you that know, that's the time that the Price is Right would come on. And so he calls me in the room, and he gives me some weed, which I know now that's what I was smoking. And I remember he told me to lay next to him. And when I woke up, and so those of you who are, y'all understand where I'm going with it. When I woke up, I was so, I just remember waking up from laying next to him and being back in the bedroom that I was in. And I did not wake up. And that was like, so, 11 o'clock. I did not wake up again until my aunt got off of work. When she got off of work, she came in the room and she woke me up, and she's like, Tara, you been asleep, da 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 da. Come on, I'm gonna take you to your mom. And when the sheets were pulled back, I remember her being excited and saying, "Oh my God, oh my God!" And I didn't know what the excitement was, because I was in excruciating pain, and I was very confused, and I was still, I woke up crying. And so obviously the trauma from what I experienced, even though I had already experienced that level of trauma, it traumatized me so much that I went into another state of trauma. And so imagine, and I know those of you who are on the line, and including my guest, who I don't know how to call you up to the stage, but I'll figure it out. Um, but the trauma does not end. It goes from trauma to trauma, just like we go from faith to faith. And so the enemy has trauma. God gives us faith and gives us joy and gives us, all of these things. But the enemy, he gives us trauma. So this trauma goes from trauma to trauma. So I'll go from one state of trauma to another. And so it wasn't my cycle. Okay. So y'all get what I'm saying. It was not my cycle. And my mom was called, and they were excited. You know how aunts get excited and mothers get excited when a cycle is started. Um, yeah, so I get home, and my mother, who was really, really deep in God, she knew that something was off and something was different. And so that's when she started to question me about, like, did anybody ever touch you? And I was able to tell her yes, and who. And so that's how we got to that point. Fast forward another trauma happens. And we moved from where we were to my mother was trying to get away from domestic violence that was in our home. And she gets us to, you know, Wilson Park is a park in or project in South Philly. And as I get off the bus to from school, a neighborhood kid who is about 18 years old takes me to Tasker Home, which is like a mile or so away, and begins to grape me. Um, and I end up getting back home. We go to trial, and this leader that is a part of my story now. He was at the trial and remember the details of what I went through in that situation. So by the time I got to fast forward, I get to ninth grade. It's the first day of ninth grade, and I smoked some things that I wasn't supposed to smoke with my friends because by that point I'm in deep trauma and we're drinking and we're also smoking. And even though I'm 12 years old, I was still involved in the enemy. Make sure he also will make sure that you reach for vices. So I was reaching for a vice. That was one of the vices, and I smoked something that should have took my mind, but it caused the leader to come over that Tuesday after Bible study, and he gets into my home because my mother called him to tell him what was going on with me. When he gets to my home, he comes into my mother's room, the main room, and he sits on the bed. When he walked through my door, when he walked through the threshold of my mother's room, the spirit that walked in with him, I recognized that spirit immediately because it's the same spirit that I would feel and know whenever my brother would show up in my space and attempt all of the things that he attempted and that he did to me as a child. And so I knew that spirit very well. And it's the same spirit that I walked into with my aunt's boyfriend and the neighborhood kid. But the leader that walked in was not expected. And so he, instead of him coming to pray for me and to pray my mind back, because I was out of my mind. The doctor said I would never come back from the trip that I was on because of what I smoked or what I ingested. But thanks be to God, I'm here talking today, right? So we know that that didn't work. But his plan was to continue what he started. And so that's when the fondling began. Um, and so that's where my story begins. Bianca, if you're in the room, I don't know how to bring you on. Let me see if I can figure it out. I sent you a link. Zanisha, you're in the chat. So do you remember how we actually were able to get on the other night when you got on with me? You can just text me, chat me. Sorry guys, this is unscripted because I didn't want to you know have a script with me. I wanted to just be as authentic as possible. Oh, can you tell me how to bring her on? Okay. Okay, can you send her that link, please? Oh wait, let me send you let me send you her information real quick. All right. Can you guys hear me? I think that I'm back in. All right, I might be back in now. So hopefully everybody will go out and come back in. Um, it looks like I'm back in. Yeah, I think I am back in. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. The technical thing. Usually I go live and I'm just live, right? But it's through YouTube. I mean, it's through Zoom or something like that. This is not Zoom. This is a podcast, and I didn't want to. I wanted to be able to, like just have real conversation and not have the script with us. And so I think that Bianca will be in the actual chat now because I sent her the link. Yeah, he corny, but it's all right. This is a part of just until I won't be able. I won't do this again. I'll be able to just know what I'm doing the next time. So but thank you for Zanisha for stepping in and helping out because, of course, I'm gonna make you a moderator because, duh, and you're part of the conversation too, so you can join us at any time if you'd like to as well. So, and hey, Tammy. um, but yeah, I'm waiting to see Bianca jump in, and then I'll kind of move forward. But any questions so far on anything that I shared, or any insight on anything that I've shared, or anything like that? This is a safe space, and those of you who know me know that it is. And so I'm not really in the business of. I do a lot of praying before I do talking, for sure. So I just want God to be glorified, the kingdom to be edified, and the devil to literally be horrified. Because I think that I definitely should have kept my mouth shut. Based on like just all of the connecting elements of my story is a lot to unpack. And we're not going to be able to unpack it, of course, in one night. But if you just keep showing up, we'll keep unpacking. And there's others that have a story that I would like to, just share. I have men and women who will be a part of the conversation. And so that's what it's about. It's about making sure that people are actually. Um, Zanisha will be a part. She's a part of the conversation. Like we talk. This is a conversation that we have and have had. And when your soul takes courage, it's it's a it's such a free place to be in because your soul is courageous enough to bear the wounds of what you've walked through. And a lot of times we don't, I know for me, this is 42 years later. My confusion, I've always been in a state of confusion, if I really think about it, since the first time I was mishandled. But imagine showing up to the house of God or walking through those church doors looking for a solution to the trauma that I had been in already. By that point, I was, oh my God, my dad was no longer in our lives. He was out of the picture. So the safety net wasn't there. And that's how the enemy was able to get in as well. So between the age of 3 up until, oh my God, 12, 23, not having a father in the home mattered because, of course, I feel like a lot of things are avoided. When you have a masculine voice or the authority in the home or the priest, the enemy can't just do what he wants to do, especially if that's a man of God that's praying. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, I believe that God makes a way where it still ends up working out, but a lot could have been avoided if my dad would have just stayed the course, I feel like. But that's neither here nor there. That's another conversation for another day. But for the most part, I didn't walk through those doors looking to walk right into Satan. I walked through those doors looking for healing, validation, to be made whole, to find a resting place. Because by that point, imagine a 12-year-old girl trying to walk or navigate life confused, bewildered, just all over the place, already going through hormonal shifts as a and I didn't even reach 13, like where the hormones are all over the place. I was just in deep trauma. And so I was not looking to meet up with Satan himself in the form of my pastor. I wasn't. I absolutely was not. And the thing that's so crazy about it is when I walked through those doors, I didn't even realize that was, you know, I didn't realize that man was going to be detrimental to who I am today, like who I would become as a servant of God. Like, so many people walk away from God as a result of being mishandled by Satan, them, by their leaders or by a church. And so, based on statistics, I shouldn't be who I am. I should definitely be walking in another direction, serving another God. But I always had this closeness with God that I didn't understand. I understand it now, but we've always been close. We always been cool. That's always been a friend. That's always been a father. He's always been a safety net. So you know, um, all the things that the enemy tried didn't work because I had a connection from the rip. But the thing that's so crazy about it is this place became a church, quote unquote, home. And so all of the things that I encountered, it was so many men like him in that house. And I remember an elder in the house propositioning me. I remember another, leader in the house, making comments and coming on and saying things and doing things that were inappropriate that I could not speak on because I was quote unquote a child and no one would believe me. But I did go to leaders concerning the one elder. But I went to a deacon and I went to that pastor about that elder. But what am I going to you for when you're doing the same exact thing that he's asking me to do? So I'm doing those things for you until I was old enough to actually complete what you started, if you understand what I'm putting down. And so I don't want to go too fast, and I don't know. Bianca says that she's not able to actually get on, so I don't know why she can't get on. But um, that Zanisha, if you can do me a favor and sign into that link, and so that we can have this conversation until Bianca can figure it out, because I don't know how to figure it out for her without going out of the conversation. But I did send her the same link. If you can go into that link and see if it works for me, I would appreciate that. But yeah, nasty work. Like, you sit down an elder and you're up still preaching and prophesying and teaching and dancing and so on and so forth. Um, so at the age of 12, um, the grooming started to the point where I remember specifically being told, "I'm your father now." And I was so excited to just have somebody that I felt like cared about me enough to, you know, um, just make sure that I was okay because I was going through a lot, y'all. I had panic attacks, like really severe panic attacks at that age. I would be walking to school and I would just, almost collapse from a panic attack or be in school or anywhere. They were very severe. I had deep trauma with depression. I could not get out of bed. Imagine being 12 and almost 13 and can't get out of bed and can't think straight. Oh, okay, wait 1 second. Let me see. Copy the link and let's see what happens together. Let me just figure it out. Give me another minute, y'all. I'll be right with you. I promise you. Oh God, copy the link. Did I do it? So I'm still trying to try the link. But telling me that he's my father now really made me feel like I was protected. And this is all um after the fondling. And so I'm still a child and I'm still confused. And the state of confusion that abuse leaves you in, my brother, my oldest brother, he was still someone that I actually looked up to. He was someone that I actually talked to every day. He was someone who actually took me to martial arts class. He took us to the playgrounds. He took us to the parks. He made sure that we had dinner because he was older. He was the oldest, so he was responsible for everything in our home. My parents weren't home. This is the one that took care of us. So the opportunities that he had to interfere with my life were many opportunities. And so this older brother, I still regarded him as a brother. So the confusion that comes with that is those trauma bonds make you feel like, like you don't really understand. You don't know, you're confused with the love, you're confused about the interactions, you're confused with all of these things. But um at the end of the day, as a child, you're not designed to know the inner workings of interactions like that. You know what I mean? These unlawful entries and all of those other things, if you will. And so no, I didn't know any of that. So as my brother and as a sister, I was, still interacting every single day. And so as a leader, um, anytime he came in the home, there was an opportunity for him to do whatever he needed to do. And he started with the subtle touching and fondlings and all those other things. And um, and the grooming that came with that was it looked like he come over after a Bible study on a Tuesday night, and he's sitting with all of the siblings. I'm on the couch and we're watching a movie together and we're having family time. And I'll go into the details of the family time, but not tonight. I will go into those details later on in this conversation. But the family time, we would sit on the couch and he would make sure that I was situated next to him. And so, a hand was put down, you know what I mean? And so those are the kind of little subtle things that was going on. And so he was trying to prepare me for whatever it was that he wanted to do. And so at the end of the day, the grooming part of this conversation is where I think a lot of us don't really understand how detrimental it is to watch your kids and make sure that those aunts and those uncles and those cousins and those friends that and you understand that everybody that's around your children. You know what I mean? That family time, yes, another creepy tactic. Yes, family time is a creepy tactic. When you have people that present, are around your children, you're trusting these people and you have no idea that they are predators. They are wolves and they are predators. And just because they carry the title of an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or a father or a brother or a sister or a friend or a lover does not mean that they were not assigned by Satan to interrupt your children, their lives. And at intricate moments, the enemy shows up to interrupt. And so, yes, that's my best friend. That's my best friend. And you doing all that extra stuff for your best friend. And at the end of the day, that best friend is a snake, is a predator. And the bottom line, Yes, titles are irrelevant when it comes to predators. They do not care because guess what? Inside of that predator is a demon. And that demon is assigned by Satan to do some nasty work. And he does not care anything about that child, how old that child is. And children become adults that walk through life and that become and they go through so many things as a result of being mishandled. And I'm one of them. I escaped. I escaped to warn, I escaped to tell, I escaped to help, I escaped to allow you to know that you can come out too. And then even if it takes time, I'm not really, if you can tell, I really am not concerned about the details of how God wants to use me. You know, I didn't go into this saying, well, God, are you sure? Well, they've moved on with their lives and they're older now. Well, guess what? When I was 12, they were like 45, 45, 46, close to 50. So when I was a child, this grown man, this grown adult, this grown leader who knew better, okay, was doing things to me that only God saw. And because God saw it, God assigned me. Okay? God saw it and he assigned me to help others. And so I have to talk. Now I'm charged to actually open my mouth and speak. And that was one of the things that I was I don't want to say afraid to do, but throughout the years, I would always see this individual and I would say things like, um, hold on one second, please. I'm sorry, y'all. I just got interrupted by Bianca, who's trying to get in, but I can't stop the chat. If y'all want, I can actually stop the live and go into another live just so that we can bring her up. Because I'm only going to do this for another hour and then I'm going to sign off. And then we'll come back at another time to talk some more. But I didn't want to do all of this in one night. So, of course, it's going to take more than one night. But do y'all mind if we go out and start the live over? And let me know that you're going to come back if we do that. And so you have to actually respond so that I can know what to do in the chat. Don't everybody talk at one time. All right. Okay. All right. All right. All right. So we'll come back. I'm gonna go out the chat and come back in because y'all that know Bianca know that she literally is going into. She didn't call my husband. She going into panic mode. Like I can't get in. I can't get in. I can't get in. All right. So let her in so she can calm down so I can actually keep the conversation going. All right. And for the sake of just podcast side of it, are y'all enjoying the actual flow of the conversation? Okay. All right. So Zanisha, what do you mean there's a delay? Is there a delay to give time for remarks to show up? Okay. 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 I see what you're saying. All right. I'll come back in guys. I'm just gonna go out and go live again. So I'll see y'all in